Hey guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. Now, in today's video, guys, I'm going to be doing a full review on the new Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey 2 movie. Now, before I get on to this, if you are watching this video, both my new review on the Ghostbusters movie as well as my favorite movies of all time, both should be out, so make sure you go check them out if you haven't. I really do apologize for the delay on these videos, as I promised that I was going to have a lot of this content out over spring break, and inconveniently, I got very sick just as spring break was starting, and I'm starting to feel better now, but yeah, obviously that didn't help with anything as I was already behind on videos, so I'm trying to get back caught back up here, which is why I would like to make this a quicker review. So you guys already know my consensus on the Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey, the first movie from last year. And I'm one of those people who's maybe a little bit more generous with it. I was able to get some amount of enjoyment out of it, even though I recognize that it is objectively a very, very bad movie, and for sure the worst movie of last year. Pretty much everybody who saw that movie last year had that at the very bottom of their extensive lists. And I can say right off the bat that Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey 2 is a significant improvement from its predecessor, which might not sound like much of a compliment with that being established, but I just think that really just on a film, like throughout the entire filmmaking process and on just an entire filmmaking level, all the positives that I'm going to have for this movie are going to be along those lines. When it comes to the kills, there's a lot more of them that are on screen, gory. They're very, very creative. There's basically an entire scene that is just designed for one of our Winnie-the-Pooh characters to just slaughter a bunch of people, and it's really, really fun. With that being said as well, the costume designs for the Winnie-the-Pooh characters look a lot better than in the first Winnie-the-Pooh, where it doesn't just look like some oddball wearing a mask. It actually looks like human skin. I think they particularly nailed it with Winnie's costume design in particular, when they have like those close-up shots. It looks really, really gnarly and really, really nice. You could definitely tell that there was still some budgetary restraints on like Owl's costume, for example, as well as Tigger's costume, where I believe they have like a CGI tail added in there. But either way, a big step up in that regard. And I also think that the acting is a little bit better here. So I didn't really take much time to dive into what the plot of this movie is, but essentially they retcon the plot from the first Winnie-the-Pooh and say that all of the events of that movie did happen, but what you saw in that first Winnie-the-Pooh movie was just a movie that was made within the Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey universe. So it kind of excuses the really, really bad, just everything that went wrong with that first Winnie-the-Pooh movie that was obviously very, very low budget. This movie having a significantly higher budget. But yeah, with that being said, I think that the acting is a lot better here. We have a new cast for Christopher Robin, which is one of the producers for Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey 2 and all of the different twisted childhood universe movies that they're going to be coming out with. Bambi, Peter Pan, they're going to have like an Avengers Assemble type of movie with all the different characters from this Poohniverse. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how that comes together. But yeah, I think that our main character, Christopher Robin, in this movie, I think that they actually made a pretty smart choice by picking the producer of this franchise. He's just a very sweet and charming guy, and so he kind of works as the affable character of Christopher Robin here, and kind of is a part of a lot of those more emotional scenes in this movie, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. But I thought I actually liked him as a main character here. In the first Winnie-the-Pooh movie, it didn't even really feel like we had a main character. None of the characters were really likable. The acting was really, really bad. But here, you could definitely tell that there was a main lead, and it was at least passable acting for the entirety of the movie. Another positive that I have for this movie is I really like all of the different personalities that they give to the new Winnie-the-Pooh characters that they added here. They're planning on adding even more in the next Winnie-the-Pooh sequel and in the future movies that they're releasing within this universe. But in here, I think they do a really, really good job with kind of establishing the personalities for these characters. They sort of kept Winnie-the-Pooh as being the silent stalker type, which many people have appointed him to, like Michael Myers, and I'm okay with that. Some people didn't like that, but I'm actually okay with that. Then you have Tigger, who's very much like Freddy Krueger, throwing out all these one-liners in that carnage scene towards the back half of the movie, which I think a lot of you will really, really like. Tigger was definitely the standout for me in this movie. And then you also have Al, who's the much more sophisticated know-it-all type, who gets some really, really good kills in here with like this acidic vomit kill, which I thought was really, really gnarly. And many people have appointed him to being like Pinhead. And I guess one last positive for this movie is that they actually dive into the lore here. Now, this is also going to sort of be a negative, and I'll explain why this isn't in the mix when I talk about that later. But one of the heaviest criticisms of the first movie is that they don't really dive into the lore at all. In like the first 3 minutes of the movie, they briefly go over like the basic Winnie-the-Pooh plot that everybody can understand if they've ever watched any Winnie-the-Pooh episode, basically. And Christopher Robin is in the movie, but he is barely in it. He doesn't speak a lot, and he's just not a significant character at all. Whereas in this movie, Christopher Robin does play a good role, and I think they do a pretty good job with the plot as far as cleaning up the mess that the first Winnie-the-Pooh movie was, and making a logical retcon that excused that first movie, and diving into the lore here, explaining things very, very thoroughly. And some of it kind of reminded me of like FNAF, which in FNAF I really, really liked that because I didn't know a lot about the FNAF lore in the first place, and it definitely added to the emotional side of things. But in here, you'll see why maybe that's not really the best thing for a movie like this. However, I thought it was interesting, some of the lore that they went in here, and kind of added a bit of a, like, sort of a mystery side to this movie that I thought was interesting. That being said, though, moving on to the negatives, I still think that this movie spends way, way, way too much time on the lore. In particular, there's this scene in the middle of the movie where Christopher Robin is talking to this specific character that I don't want to give any detail to because I don't want to spoil anything. But essentially, we get like a 5-minute monologue / exposition dump from this character. And normally this wouldn't be too big of an issue for me, but comparing this movie to FNAF again, you know, FNAF, a PG-13 horror movie based off of a video game franchise. FNAF is very much dependent on the lore, right? Like, most of the biggest FNAF fans love it because of the lore. But this is not FNAF. This is Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey 2. You can kind of already get the idea out of the title. People are not coming here for the lore. People are coming here for the carnage and the kills. And so they just don't want all this time spent on trying to have these really emotional scenes and these deep dives into the Winnie-the-Pooh lore or whatever, and these exposition dumps or whatever. They want those kills for the whole 90 minutes. And like I said, this normally wouldn't be a too big of an issue for me, because I think that this movie could have been fine not just going like all at it for the whole 90 minutes had they not of already had the ball rolling in that first 5 minutes. Because in the first 5 minutes of the movie, they really get the momentum going here, showing you what this movie is going to be all about, what they're going to deliver. And so after that, you're kind of like hoping they're going to keep that same pace throughout the rest of the movie. And it really, really slows down afterwards. And you're just waiting and waiting until maybe the last 30 minutes of the movie until it finally picks up that speed that it had at the beginning of the movie. And so this really all just goes into the point that I think that this movie just takes itself a little bit too seriously. I think by now the producers need to understand, like, they just need to just go all out in these future movies. And I'm not saying that they haven't taken any like feedback and advice, because they very much have listened to their audience and made astronomical improvements from the first movie. But I think that in this next movie, and I think that they will improve on this, they just need to go full out, unhinged, much like that Tigger scene towards the ending of the movie, and just not give an F. And, you know, maybe spend a little bit of time on the lore. You're going to have to when you're introducing some of these new characters. But in this movie, I think there's just way too much. And I think that they just need to go all out in this next movie, full on berserk. And I think that I will love it a lot more for that reason. So that's pretty much all I got for Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey 2. Really not a whole lot of criticisms. I think that these are easy fixes that they can make in the next movie, and I think that they will definitely be able to correct those by their next Winnie-the-Pooh sequel, whenever that comes out, which is hopefully going to be coming out pretty soon. So, saw Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey 2 in theaters. Let me know what you thought. Otherwise, I'm not sure when it's going to be coming out on streaming. I would recommend, if you're a big slasher guy or you just like absolute schlock fest, go check out Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey 2. It might not give you all the fun for the whole 90 minutes or however long the runtime is in here, but I think you'll definitely get a kick out of it. You will like this significantly better than the first Winnie-the-Pooh if you did, unfortunately, have to sit through that movie. So what would I give Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey 2? 6.5 out of 10. I think if I gave it 7, it would be saying that this movie is a good movie. And I don't think it's a good movie, but it is definitely enjoyable. It's very consumable, easily consumable if you're a slasher fan, and definitely more rewatchable than the first Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey. I don't know anybody who would want to subject themselves to that movie a second time. So yeah, if you're a big slasher fan, if you like Schlockfest, go check out Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey 2 when it comes out on streaming. Otherwise, that's all I got for you guys. Make sure you go check out on the other content that has been coming out recently if you haven't yet. And stay tuned. Next month, April, if you thought March was really busy, April's going to be even more jam-packed with movies, so make sure you're staying tuned for reviews during that month. And I think that's pretty much all I got for you guys. So make sure you stay tuned, like and subscribe, guys, and I will see you next time.